Hello, hello. All right. Again, it's good to see everybody here. It's good to have Bob here to share his story. So why don't we go ahead and begin with the prayer, and then the kiddos can go their way if we can find a couple kids. So let us go ahead and bow our heads. Gracious Lord, we thank you that you care for us, that you are by our side through good times and through bad times, tragedies. We thank you for the strength that we can only find through you, the peace that is ours through knowing that our eternal life is secure through our faith in you. We ask that you would bless the message this evening, that your name would be praised in all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Kids.
All right. Well, we are excited to have Coach Hurtis with us tonight. And he is one person I don't really think he gets nervous to talk. I don't think he has much problem with that. Most of our other people weren't sure about standing in front and talking, but I think he's got that down. So we're thrilled he could come. And it's funny because anytime I ask him to do anything, he's, yep, okay, I'll do it. So that's really nice. I appreciate it. I'll just let you go. Yeah? Or do you want me to get you a stool? Chair? Okay.
Well, for most of you, I assume you all know that my name is Bob Hurtis. I've been a resident of this community now since 1974. And my story is probably not all that different than anybody else's story that grew up in central Illinois or south central Illinois. And, we have the same ideas, the same beliefs, and mostly it's just a general thing. But to give you a little bit of background, I was born in 1947 to John and Margaret Hurtis. We lived in Noble, Illinois, a large megagopolis. I mean, everybody knows about Noble. And was born and raised there. And I was introduced to church at a very, very early age. My mom was one of those people. We went to Sunday church. Of course, we did Sunday school. We went to Sunday night. We went to Wednesday church. But my dad, on the other hand, I only saw him in church 5 times, and that was when the 5 of us got married, my 3 sisters and my brother. My dad was raised by very puritanical people, not his mom and dad, and he was forced to go to church, evidently more than he wanted, and so he didn't go. Now, my dad believed in God. He just didn't profess it, and he didn't really have a lot of room for religion. But mom, on the other hand, was very steady, very, very sound, and so we went to everything. Matter of fact, I even went to tent revivals, which we don't have anymore. And I think I missed my calling. I think I would have been a great tent revival speaker. I really would have. But that's how I got introduced. So I've been in churches my whole life. But then I met Marie, and I went to Glenwood Christian Church, a little church out in the country. Yeah, we weren't even affiliated. And then I met Marie, and instead of being a Christian, she made me a Lutheran. So, I didn't really know for sure, but that was the next great step in my life. As you all know, one of my great loves is basketball, and I was fortunate enough to play basketball in high school and college, and that's where I met Marie, which was a wonderful thing. And she saw that I needed some guidance again. So she got me into being a Lutheran, and Reverend Camrith was the guy that I took my studies with, a wonderful person, and I got started in the Lutheran church that way. It was a whole new thing for me because we didn't stand up and sit down and do some of the things that we do in the Lutheran Church now back in my day. And I will give you a little side story there about a thing that I always remember. They fired our preacher when I was 12 years old. And he was an old white-haired man. I'm sure he was younger than I am now, but I thought he was a really old man. And they fired him, and like I said, we weren't affiliated. And he stood up in front of the church and told the church that all their children would be damned over that firing. So I've always kind of wondered, where I stand with that thing. But that was my basic background and how I got introduced to religion. And we did the Bible studies, the classes, we did the summer stuff. So, that part of the church thing I was always involved in. And then Marie, she, as you all know here, was very involved. And I do believe in God. My dad, who didn't go to church, believed in God. I believe in God. I don't know how you can get up and see a sunset or a sunrise and think that some frog crawled out of the ocean or some ape came down from a tree and did that sort of thing. I don't know how that can happen. And I know there's people that are much more intelligent than me. I don't say that very often. That will give you these things. But I've always struggled with my commitment. My story is one that I'm afraid is all too familiar with so many people. I seem to be, and I hate to say this because I hate to be this way about anything, but I'm a convenient Christian at times. When it's convenient for me, it seems like I'm here and I show up and I do things. But when it's not, I let the world get in the way. If you know my philosophy in basketball, I put up a thing there. The thing said, play hard, play smart, and have fun. Well, the problem is, I really do the play hard, and I really do the have fun part, but I'm not always the smartest guy in the world. And I get involved. I know more than should. And it's one of those things, I don't pray a lot, but I do talk to God. And he, I think, talks back to me, but I can't be consistent with it. And it really bothers me because I should be. I realize I should be. And I realize that, I'm a blessed person. I've been blessed my whole life. I've been lucky. I've been fortunate. Any way you want to look at it. I had wonderful parents, great brothers and sisters. I met and loved a wonderful woman, and I never could understand why she loved me. That was her one major failing. I've got 3 great kids, 7 great grandkids. I was able to teach and work in a sport that I love. I've met great people. I live in a great community. I have a lot of friends and a few enemies. And I realize all that, and I know where this comes from, yet I let the world get in the way all too often. It's a nice sunny day, so I go play golf instead of going to church. I could help out with doing this, but there's some guys having a party, so I go to the party. And I know that's a failing. And I know that someday that's going to come due. And I try. I talk to myself, but I don't follow through nearly as much as I should. And ever since the passing of my wife, I haven't followed through as much as I should. She was, as Jill will tell you, my moral compass. And I have a tendency to be a little outgoing. I like to do things. I like to have fun. I like to do these sort of things. And Jill will tell you, I have given her sons advice that she really cringes. For instance, I told Mace over there that you never what, Mace? Never apologize, shows a sign of weakness. Well, I know that's not the right thing. Anyway, I realize all these things. I realize how lucky I am, yet I don't follow through. And I know when I come to church, I can hear the pastors talking to me. I know they're talking directly to me because I'm that guy that doesn't do those things like I should. And that's a failing. And I would suggest to a lot of people that they should not be in that category, but I'm not making any judgments because I am in that category. So in my life, even though I've really been blessed with so many things, I'm not as appreciative as I should be. I understand that. I wish that I were more, but there's the problem. I wish. I don't always follow through. I don't always do. Now, I'm the guy that I'll help people out, but I don't help myself out a lot of times in these situations. I don't follow through on that end of it. God talks to you. I was here not last Sunday, but the Sunday before, and I'm sure most of you didn't notice it, but it is tougher for me to go to church now that Maria's gone. It just brings back so many things that I did with her and what we did together. And sometimes I use that as an excuse, and that's not good. I know when she got really sick, it was my thought process that maybe God was punishing me for my failings by having her be sick because she didn't have those failings. I did. But then I realized that God's not that kind of God. He's not a vengeful God. He didn't do that to punish me. It's just those are things that happen that he knows better. And she's in heaven now. And I firmly believe in heaven. And I'm scared to death of hell. But I don't help myself on that too much. But I realize that's not it. I have no animosity in that area. This is difficult for me to actually stand up here and admit to these feelings because I am a person that I've told people many a time, I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin. I do pretty much what I think is right. And unfortunately, sometimes I don't consider others as much as I did when I'm doing some of those things. But I'm not as comfortable now as I should be. I realize that these things are problems, but I'm not doing as much about it as I should. I don't respond to it as I should. But my story is basically just being a guy that grew up in Illinois, a guy that has certain rules and codes that I live by, and with all the things that we have going on right now in our world, our country, I struggle with those things. I don't know that whether you do or not, but I have a certain set of rules I live by, and I live by those rules, and I hate to be told by other people that my rules are not okay, and theirs are. I don't know if you've ever heard, have you ever heard Red Skelton do the Pledge of Allegiance? Break it down word by word? Well, there's under God in there, and it shouldn't be taken out. And it should be in our schools. My belief. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that we as a nation have let ourselves slip in those areas. I don't want to be told that I can't do this or can't do that. And I know that one of these days I will have to pay for the things that I don't do on that other end. But I hope that my faith and belief in God will help me through. I wish that I was not a convenient Christian. I wish that I was a better one. But wishing doesn't get it done. I've told kids that forever in sports. Wishing doesn't get it done. You got to work at it. And right now I haven't been willing to make that sacrifice. I thank you for having me here tonight. I want you to know that this church has been wonderful to me and my family. And I thank you very much. What? Okay, I'll answer questions. You have questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Surely somebody has anybody. Not everybody here knows Marie and how much she did. So Sandy or whoever worked with her, she was on what kind of quilting a lot?
She really guided us through the quilting because she knew how to do it. She got the ball rolling.
Yes.
As she did with me. My wife raised 3 wonderful children, but she never got the 4th one done.
That's right.
Too far along.
Yeah.
You didn't say it, Mom, but she was the boss.
Well, we always voted in our household. And I never did quite understand, but she always told me of this. We would vote, and she would win 2-1 every time, and I never could find that 3rd vote, but yeah. Yeah. Marie ran the show.
So to tell you a little bit about my favorite story of her, which Bob's heard this 1,000 times, but I was in the grocery store buying cookies like for lunch or something. The kids were maybe they weren't, well, they were probably pretty little because I was still making their lunches. But anyway, I was getting Chips Ahoy, whatever. And she said, "What are you doing buying cookies? That is ridiculous." And I was like, "Well, I don't have time to make them." So probably for every 2 weeks, we got cookie deliveries, I would say, after that, or maybe every, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, she would just drop off a plate of cookies. And there's no reason for me to ever make a cookie again because no cookie would ever taste as good as Marie's. And I don't even like to take Bob cookies because it's just embarrassing. So, and then Clay's favorite thing is that when Marie got really sick, Bob was the delivery person for the cookies then, because she didn't just give them to us, she gave them to several people, right?
Right.
And so he's like, "I never thought I would see Coach Hurtis walking up my driveway with a plate of chocolate chip cookies." But there he was doing his duty.
Well, unfortunately, there's just a whole lot of people who never saw how lovable I really am.
That is true. You didn't let many people in on that.
What? Yes. And I even tolerate him. I had the pastor that was here before, he came up to me one time at a basketball game, and he said to me that he didn't see the mistakes of the players being quite as egregious as I did. And I told him, I said, I don't see some sins being quite as egregious as you do, which is probably not fair, but yeah, Marie was one of a kind.
And I don't know, I feel like right up to the very end, she was still so positive, and her laugh was infectious. She's just an amazing person. And can you
feel like your faith
that's what I was going to ask.
has wavered at times when Marie was sick, or since she's been gone, or is it more like you said?
Well, when she first got sick, that's when I thought that maybe I was being punished. But then I realized through her faith that wasn't true. And then she did show an amazing amount of grace and strength and made it very easy on us. Pastor was there for a lot of it. But no, I don't think my faith there ever lessened or got stronger. At the end, when things were so bad, you get into that thing where you don't want to let them go, but they're going to heaven, and I'm sure she did. She's going to be better off than where she was. But no, my whole problem is me. It's just that simple. I'm just a convenient Christian, and that's not a very good way to be. But I'm sorry. If you make an honest assumption, that's what I am.
So maybe we need to think of a way to get you involved.
Well,
Oh, wait, Jack,
I've always known who I was, And I used to know what I was, but I will admit that now that she's gone and with things that are going on in the world today, and I don't seem to really have a function as such, and that might be part of my problem.
I know that we always traveled in different circuits, and I've never been real sports minded, so I've never known you very well except here at church. One of the most powerful things I ever saw you do was when you spoke at the Relay for Life. Very impressive.
Well, the Lord gives everybody gifts. Mine is the gift of gab. I can. Sometimes a lot of people don't want to listen to what I got to say, but thank you. I've been involved in some. I've always said that the most rewarding thing I've ever done on a speaking level was the 9/11 thing out at the school. But at the Relay for Life, it's so close to home, so close to your heart that how can you not?
Yeah, my introduction to Bob Hurtis was on the baseball field, Little League. You were coaching I was a coach and he was a coach. I was intense, but I don't think I was as intense as Bob Hurtis was.
Very. When it came to athletics, very few people were, and and I understood that I was not the best coach for everybody. But again, I went back to the three things that I said: play hard, play smart, have fun. Now, play hard to me meant was you really got after it, you really work, you really get, and then you pay attention to what's going on, and then you have fun. You don't have fun if you don't do the other two things. Intensity, yes. Probably more than I need. But I have told Jill and Clay this. They don't believe me. But my dad, who I mentioned, who was, he actually made me look like a wallflower. He was intense. He was larger than life.
Well, the intense is in a good, positive way because you were able to take the kids, and you were hard on Kevin and Dirk in baseball, more so than the other kids. And I think every coach is harder on their own kids. But you molded these kids, and Ryan in basketball, you molded these kids, and to see what that team did in was it 1996 to go and win state with you as the assistant coach there. Ryan looked up to that, and he got a lot out of what you did for him, and he played baseball there in high school, and he respected that.
Well, I always got more from the kids than they gave me. They didn't understand that, but you get more from the kids than you give. And I'm one of those black and white guys. I never had gray areas. My rules were black and white. I've got plenty of gray areas now. But I always told kids that even in classrooms that I would be the easiest teacher they ever had because it was all black and white. They didn't have to wonder if it was wrong or right. If they were wrong, they were going to pay. If they were right, they're not. So, but yeah, it was very rewarding. Coaching and teaching was very, very rewarding. I was, again, like I said, lucky. I got to do something I really liked.
And we begged for how many years for you to come back, and finally, finally got it.
I needed those 3 years badly. I was right after Marie had passed away, and it worked out wonderfully well for me too. Again, I got more out of those 3 years than I gave. It was a really good time for me.
Frank, you don't have anything?
Well, we didn't win the state the second time, but I don't need that. We didn't win the state, but I'll tell you those 3 years.
Oh, then he came back?
They were fun.
But now let's not forget that Sean Taylor was the head coach.
Oh,
Sean Taylor.
I don't know whose team that was.
Sean Taylor was, no. Sean Taylor was, Sean Taylor, best coach ever. Well, I will tell you a little sidebar that most of you don't know about. The first year when we went to state, I received a letter from the coaching or the Referees Association in the state of Illinois, and it just bluntly said that if Coach Hurtis gets off the bench, we will tee him. So I didn't get off the bench.
Did you ever get thrown out of the gym?
Oh, my.
Okay. We got a trivia question here for you. I coached baseball, basketball, football, off and on for 34 years. The reputation of me in technicals, I had plenty of those. But I'll bet you can't tell me how many times I was tossed out. Baseball, basketball, and football together.
You mean completely away from the game?
No, out of that game.
Frank got thrown out.
3 times. No. I got 3 times.
Yeah. Frank got thrown out at Altamont.
We all remember that.
I got thrown.
All I told him was, if he knew how stupid he looked.
That wasn't nice. That wasn't nice.
But then Frank came back.
Yeah, she didn't like that.
Actually, Frank might have won that game for us.
Yeah.
Do what?
You take credit for that win, I think, in Altamont.
We got 23 points or 26 points in the third quarter. I do know that. And 4 fouls in the whole second half.
Well, Frank, my memory goes back to Little League when I had to tell you to move away from behind home plate one night.
Well, we weren't on the same team at the time. Right, John? No Rangers. That was bad.
No.
When you get 2 guys that won't shut up when they need to, it's hard to keep everybody under control.
Well, the other fun thing about those, here, Gary, you have to use the mic because since Linda has it on there.
I'm just curious, who inspired you? Who'd you model your coaching after?
The person who inspired me to play basketball and develop my love of basketball was my dad. My dad played back in the day, and he used to tell these wonderful stories about playing. And I would sit there and listen to him, and that's when I developed a love for the game. The coaching aspect, I played for a guy at Eastern by the name of Don Eddy, just 1 year. And if he asked you to run through a brick wall, you'd try it. And he was intense, but yet he was a very Christian man. He never cursed, which is not always true in colleges. He didn't curse. He demanded, he didn't ask, he demanded that you give the very best performance you could give, and you were wanted to. And I probably followed in his, but then the other college coach that I really liked was a guy named Robert Montgomery Knight. And now he did curse, but I loved the way he coached and the way his intensity. And as a matter of fact, I had a school board tell me that they didn't want Robert Montgomery Knight coaching. So they, I think they fired me. Yeah, that's what they did. Yes, I went to Eastern. Yes, went to Olney Junior College for 2 years, and then Eastern. We probably had better teams at Olney Junior College, but we had a great time. Coach Eddy was a wonderful guy, great coach, super guy, and he's no longer with us either.
So yeah, you didn't tell that Marie was a cheerleader. Some people don't know.
Oh, well, the first time I met Marie was at Noble. She went to Dietrich High School. I went to Noble High School. The first time I met Marie, and this is hard on a person's ego, she was looking for another kid from Noble. She asked me if I knew where he was. All right. So now I don't see her again until she was a freshman. We were freshmen in high school then. I don't see her again until I'm a junior in college when I transferred to Eastern. I looked out on the floor and there was 3 cheerleaders out there that I knew, 2 from Clay City and 1 being Marie. And I made the right choice one time. I asked her for a date, and she made the mistake of saying yes. And I know they say there's not love at first sight, but I knew right then that if she would say yes, I would marry her. So it was a wonderful life.
How many years were you married? I forget.
47.
47.
No Hurtis male made it to 50. My dad and mom made it to 49 when dad died of a heart attack. My brother, just like me, lost his wife of 42 years to breast cancer, and I lost Marie after 47. So, yeah, 47 wonderful years. I used to say, though, this used to bother her. People would ask us how long we'd been married, and they said we'd been married 40 years. I would tell people we've been married for 20 wonderful years. The other 20 were just, but she didn't like that. She actually, I think 5 times that I can remember her riding home with somebody other than me.
From basketball games?
No,
from your
no,
kids?
she never, no.
Okay.
She was the perfect basketball wife.
Yeah.
She was. No, usually it was because I was doing something stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was trying that revival thing at the Mattoon Airport, and she got upset about it. They were giving me money. They did. They actually put money down there. I'm telling you, I should have been a tent revival guy. I was perfect for that.
One of my kids, I remember watching, there's like, I mean, how is his voice that loud? I just don't understand it. How is that? The other.
Remember, were you there when the kids were in the 5th and 6th and 7th, 8th grade in Moulton Gym? Those concrete walls?
When his kids played?
Yes.
Yeah. Because was Justin one of his boys' age?
He was Dirk's age.
Okay.
And so we started going to the games immediately from 6th grade on up, or no, 7th at Moulton.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was worse if Dirk did something bad. Of course, he didn't have, in his grade, we didn't have much talent.
But Dirk and Kevin were 2 different people. Kevin was more like me, so we had some battles. Dirk was more like Marie and smarter, and he just let it go in one ear and out the other, and it didn't bother him at all. Dirk never, it didn't bother him.
Frank, you talk about that. My brother is 54, and he played for Coach Curtis, and then our kids both played for Coach Curtis. And they were talking one night. Malcolm said, "I still wake up. I can wake up in the middle of the night and hear Coach Curtis's voice in my head." And my brother's 54. He goes, "Yeah, me too."
Well, you all know Rob Bullock. He was in the first class, right? Robbie Bullock?
No,
He
was in 80, 81. Bobby Locker was in first class, 74, 75. Yeah.
I got a brother-in-law over at Windsor.
Yeah, and I can tell you stories about this kid in high school. That long hair.
How many years did you teach as far as like driver's education? Because I remember, people have fears going into your class.
Oh, now
So,
come on.
Just so Linda's doing this, so we have to do it through here. But Joe asked how many years Bob has taught or coached, and you can ask anybody in this whole town that's however old and younger, and everybody has a driver's ed story. Everybody.
34. 34.
And you want to talk about intense? He was intense in the car too, not just on the. Oh.
Yeah,
Dad advice. You gotta have.
Oh, we gotta have the mic.
Oh yeah.
These are all urban myths. They tell these stories. These things never happened, but they bring them up. They make them up.
Yeah. We were, some guys in my class, we all had Bob Hurtis stories about whenever we drove with you. And I'm not going to share them, but we all had stories. One thing I remember about you is that, of course, whenever we go into the class, we're afraid, a little intimidating whenever you're 15 years old and you're walking the class. I remember I had your class, and I'm sure you don't even remember this because kids, you've had a lot of kids, and you probably won't believe this, but I was walking one time. I think you were taking your tray back to lunch, or you had a different lunch hour or something. I met you in the lunch cafeteria, and it was just me. And you looked at me and said, "Mr. Trimble, where were you and Mr. McConnell and somebody else going yesterday?" Because we were supposed to be coming back from lunch. Well, we decided we didn't want to be there, so we were going away from lunch. And you were driving, and you asked me that, and I thought, oh boy, here comes the detention. And I told you the truth. I didn't lie to you. I said, well, we were going away from here. We didn't want to be here. And he looked at me and said, don't ever let it happen again. And I was like, well, as long as I'm truthful to you, you were honest with me, and I was honest with you. And I thought, well, that's the relationship he wants to have with these kids. A kid had just went ahead and rung me up for detention, but that's whenever I gained respect right off the bat for you. Not only was I scared, but I gained respect for you because I didn't have you as a coach at that time, and I don't think I ever had you. I think in and out, and I was in other sports, but I knew your coaching style. I had friends that were in the sports, and that was the first time I really, felt what Bob Hurtis was about. So.
But see, that's one of the things that I'm struggling with now is I always tried to be honest with people, but I'm not being honest with God. And I know that, but yet I'm not doing much about it. And that's kind of a sad indictment.
Oh, Pastor.
Bob, the next thing I challenge you is to write a book. Because I would say in this church, about 85% of the people feel the same way you do.
Huh. Yeah, I hope not.
Oh.
But a book, come on, you can write a book.
Bob, I have a suggestion for you. Not that you've ever taken any from me, but, and I know it's hard for you to come back to church, and you sit in the same pew where you and Marie sat. Make a change. It might help. I don't know. Just, yeah, make a change. No, come.
Yeah, you're
come
probably
sit with
right.
me, or.
You're probably right.
Yeah, and Sunday's turkey dinner.
Maybe you could have a raffle, sit with Bob.
Well, there would be several people you're not going to sell any tickets to.
On the other side of that, I have a brother-in-law that played for you before you went to the Army. Gosh, that's been what, 50?
Yes.
50.
We don't need to go there. Okay.
52 years ago.
1969, 70.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about that.
And the brother-in-law thought so much of that man that when Malcolm was playing, he came over. He came to half the games at least,
yeah.
From Windsor.
Yeah.
He didn't go to Stu Straw's Windsor games. He came to Shelbyville games just because that guy was the coach. Yep.
There's no way you can reckon with bad taste. You know what I mean?
You were in Windsor though, weren't you, before?
I was in Windsor for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting story, and it's not a bad thing, but they had the lottery back then. But the state of Illinois didn't draft teachers. So when they had the lottery, I didn't pay any attention to it because I was already married. No, not scratch. I was about to go in the Army. So I was married and had taught a year, and I get a letter from my friends and neighbors saying that I had been drafted. So I thought, well, that can't be. But there were 2 counties in the state of Illinois. One of them was Richland, was where I was registered. And so I got a good 2-year vacation. They sent me to several places that I would have never gone. One of them being the land of the little people. I would not have gone over there, but they sent me over there and put me in a hospital, and I hated it. I hated it. My bedside manner is not real good. And I had to go through and make rounds with the orthopedic surgeon, and I still remember this one. And this is one time when I got chewed on. I had never seen a freshly amputated leg, and the doctor uncovered it. And I'm standing back here, and my voice, well, that's not right. Oh, he was a light bird, and there was a major, and there was a couple of captains, and every one of them took turns. And so I learned one time to keep my mouth shut.
Well, tell him why you got to be in hospital.
Why I got to be in the hospital?
Well, because you're a major.
Oh, well, I was a grunt. I went over as a grunt, 11 Bravo infantry, right? And they pulled me and another guy out because they needed physical therapist technicians. Since we had physiology, kinesiology, and anatomy, we had more training in that than most of the people they trained in it. So they put us in there on the job training. So I went from 11B40 to 76J20 just like that. That means a lot to people, doesn't it? But I didn't like it. Yeah.
11 Bravo.
Yep, 11 Bravo. Follow me, Patch.
Like you said, it made you more passionate. And there's among two other things that you did in Vietnam. You became more passionate, but what were the two main things you did in Vietnam? You told me you drank beer and played basketball.
Well, I did do that. Yeah, I did do that. We did play basketball. The only time I ever really got in any trouble, we ran over. Well, he ran into us, a Vietnamese, and then the Cowboys, Cowboys were the Arvins who were supposed to be out fighting, but had Chuhoyed to the back. Chuhoyed means came home, and they wanted money, and that got to be a little exciting, but it was no big deal.
Anyone else? Well, I do want to say real fast, since Frank brought up the 3 years that you coached, what I thought was the coolest thing about it was that I felt like our whole church was there every game because we had 4 kids on the team, right? They were Lutherans, and our coach was Lutheran. And Frank would make sure Bob knew what he did wrong every Sunday after a Friday night game, right? When he'd come to church on Sunday, like to analyze the game. But I just felt like it was just fun because everybody was involved.
Well,
and it was
there
just
might
a
be
neat time.
one person here that wouldn't tell you it was all that much fun.
Me?
No.
Mason.
It was a rather traumatic experience here's the funny part of all that, though. These kids today thought that I was really intense, really hard. And the kids that had played, like his brother and my son and those people on the state championship team, they come back and Rob Bullock, and they go, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
Said, "You're such a soft guy anymore." It was unreal. And these guys thought it was hard. So we all change. We all get a lot easier. I'm much softer than I used to be.
He was ranting and raving in the huddle at a NCAA tournament. We were at the championship game, stressed. He's getting on everybody and all that. And I was sitting next to Kenneth and Son and Rich Byers and a bunch of those guys, and then my brother and who'd all play for him. They're like, "When did he get so warm and cuddly?"
Well, I thank you for having me here tonight. I really do. It's always good to be in this building, and I should be here so much more than I am. It always makes me feel better. I've got to admit that. Every time I come, I feel better. I know you probably didn't see it, but that Sunday ago, they got into a song, and I thought I was going to have Kleenex. I was going to start crying over there. But when I got home, I thought, man, that was good. Now that we're a little past as much of the COVID stuff. I thought it got a little cold then, but now it was warm. And I should be here more, and I'm going to try to. I really am.
Well, thank you very much for sharing, and we'll have Pastor Wade finish us off with prayer, close us up with prayer. Maybe we should all stand, I think.
Oh, Lord Heavenly Father, it's always good to be honest. And what Bob shared tonight was his honest feelings. But I'm sure many of us here have those feelings. And we have a loving and caring God who's with us at all times. And there's many things that need to be done. And each day we see ourselves in a line, and we could stir up a conversation with the person in front and ask if they believe in Jesus, but it seems like we don't do that anymore. May we take to heart what Bob said and share the good news of Jesus, and all of us become committed Christians. And thank you, Bob, for being here. Amen.
Maybe Frank should tell his story.
What?
Maybe you should tell your story.
You don't want to hear